previous slide. So there is a low, so that will be moving like this in space. So that if I look at some peak value of that magnetic field, that is what is being traced here. Basically there is a sinusoidal flux profile which will be traveling in space in between the stator and rotor. So that is what is being indicated here. So now this madam Clark, she was the first woman to earn an electrical engineering from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, first female professor of electrical engineering in the US. She proposed transform in the sense you have something, but if you are uncomfortable to do the calculations in the domain, so you are going for some other hypothetical domain and you carry out the calculation and then you have to come back to the same domain, which you might have done Laplace transform in mathematics. You have a time differential, you have the equations in time domain, differential form, integral form. You are converting into, by the use of Laplace transform, you are going to some imaginary domain and do all the calculations, and then you will be doing inverse Laplace transform. For example, if you have differentiation in time domain, by the application of Laplace transform, it gets converted into multiplication by s. If you have integration in time domain, it gets converted into division by s. It is easy to work with addition, subtraction, multiplication, division compared to integration and differentiation. But this is a hypothetical domain. There is nothing like yes domain. Okay. So after doing that, you will have to come back to the time domain and only you can understand. So such a transform, it simplifies mathematical calculations. Basically, all these people, they were very much concerned about students. Students are being troubled in the class, so they are uncomfortable with the differentiation, they are uncomfortable with integration. So all these scientists and inverter, they propose some transform so that the life of the students in the class becomes easy. Has it really become easy? No? Somebody say no. It is because of whom? Is it because of you or because of all other people other than you? Sometimes like only I said, all the problems are created by this. Okay? Sometimes we put the blame on Bhagavan. Bhagavan is so cruel. Right? So many problems I am going through and Bhagavan is not helping me. Bhagavan or Bhagavad Gita, I don't know, because some ladies are carrying it. How do you know that the Almighty has to be from male? He can, female also, right? So we want God, Goddess to serve us. We don't want to serve God, Goddess. We want, if God doesn't serve us, it's useless. Right? So that is what we want, right? Human. Right? We want God to serve us. All the people we want to be servantless. Clark transform. What this madam did is, basically you are using a three-phase supply, ABC. Convert three-phase into two-phase stationary reference frame. Say stationary reference frame is x-axis, y-axis, alpha, beta. Instead of x and y-axis, alpha, beta. Now you please, there is an exercise now. An object is continuously rotated. All of it is carefully listen. Object is continuously rotated. So that is the magnetic field we created in the previous slide. Give three-phase supply to three-phase winding. It results in a magnetic field which will be traveling in space. That's what I said. My child is moving the magnet. Alright, up to this. Right. Now, some object is moving like this. You have to tell me what is the projection of this object on the x-axis. With the time, how is this projection changing with the time? An object is continuously moving in a circular orbit. What is the projection of this object on the x-axis? Oh, you are saying answer. Okay. So answer is like this. That's what sir was telling. Answer is like this, right? That is cos theta surface. Okay. So objection of so the projection of this object on the x-axis. One is cos theta and another one is sin theta. So many people have contributed. So let us also contribute. Thank you very much. Oh, you said 10 minutes.
Just 8 minutes.
10 minutes left. 10 minutes is over. 10 minutes. 10 minutes over. Okay. Oh, somebody said 10 minutes over. That means 20 minutes or more. Maybe that student is interested in listening. It's fine. So the projection of, when I continuously rotate an of this object on the x-axis, one will be cos theta, projection of this object on the y-axis, it will be sin theta, cos theta and sin theta. So that is what you could see. Basically, three-phase is being converted into two-phase stationary reference frame. Another what this gentleman introduces, we draw the graph like this, x-axis, y-axis. What this gentleman said, you continuously keep changing the axis itself. Rotate the axis. Are you getting what I'm saying? Always we draw the graph like this, x-axis, y-axis. Now all of you have to do this exercise. Continuously you have to rotate. Either I have to rotate, but I will keep it like this, but you continuously rotate your head. Something like that. So these axes are continuously rotated. That's called rotating reference frame. In the first case, in the first case, it is a stationary reference frame. When the object is moving, the projection of this object on the x-axis, if I say cos theta, right, projection. But if I rotate this axis also, reference axis, what will happen? Can you guess? And if answer is there, it will be a DC. The object is rotating, but if you stand and watch, when it is here, people, right? When it comes here, uska projection, only this much. And when it comes here, the entire length. When it is here, the projection of this object on the x-axis is just a dot. When it is coming here, the projection of this object is maximum. Right? When it goes here again dot, basically it becomes a sin theta. Projection of this object on this axis, when it is rotating, it is like a sin theta. Projection of this object on the y-axis, it's a cos theta, which we have seen in the previous one. Now, let's say projection of this object on this x-axis is 0, and the x and y-axis are continuously rotating. What will happen? Whatever was the projection at time t0, the same value you will be seeing always. Basically, it is like you will get DC. Although you are having originally you had a three-phase supply, with the proposal made by Clark, it became two-phase supply, cos theta, sin theta. In the proposal made by Park, it became DC quantities. So it is easy, basically like Laplace transform, you are going somewhere and do calculations and you are coming back. Similarly, you apply all this Clark and Park transform and convert this sinusoidally varying quantity into DC and control it easily. That's it. This slide is to show that there is a huge computation involved. Alright? Sometimes we frequently to show some complex thing. Sometimes we say etc. Etc. is used to tell I know many things. Because of and so on. Because of time constraint, I'm stopping. So again, this is to show that we do a lot of computations. You will not understand now, right? So for that, you will have to come to my lab. If you have any specific question, you can ask. Basically, IA, IC. 3 lines are going to the motor. 3 lines. You will put current sensor. What is the current in the phase A? What is the current in the phase B? What is the current in the phase C? Now you are having a 3-phase. That is called ABC. That is converted into D2. Direct axis, coordinate axis. 2-phase rotating reference frame. Initially I said 2-phase stationary reference frame, and in the subsequent part, 2-phase rotating reference frame. So basically these quantities will become dash. This is the sinusoidal quantities. These quantities will become dash. I am looking for answer. Bus. C and J, but uske pehle D aa raha hai, A aa raha hai, DC, very good. Okay. So these are all DC quantities. It is easy to work if some quantities like this. Although you are giving sinusoidal quantity, it is easy to work. Basically, it is to reduce mathematical complex. Further, you can, if you can control it quickly, the dynamics gets improved. The moment I give the throttle in the vehicle, how quickly the quantity is settled. For example, when I switch on the fan, it takes 4 seconds to come to steady state. Visibly when you see, it doesn't rotate, but you have to visualize. Because I don't want to search for the switcher. It rotates 0 RPM to 400 RPM. It takes 4 seconds. Mechanical quantities settle after 4 seconds. But the mechanical quantities are driven by dash. Dash. And electrical engineering. Good. Yeah. and higher strength. There is a motor, electrical, mechanical. This we want to improve the dynamics. The moment I give the throttle, I want it to go faster. It will happen if the electrical quantities settle faster. If the electrical quantities settle faster, the mechanical quantities will also settle afterwards. Suppose if electrical quantity settling itself takes time, then this cannot settle. समझ में आ रहा? Right? So therefore, we convert that sinusoidal quantities into DC and we ensure the electrical quantities settle faster so that we can expect mechanical quantities will settle later. That is the entire thing. To improve the dynamics, this Clark transform, Park transform are used, but finally to the motor, you have to give three-phase. Therefore, you have to do inverse transform here. This is actually inverse transform. Like how you did the time domain signal, you converted into Laplace transform, went somewhere here, then you have to do inverse Laplace transform and get the time domain quantity. Because we are living in time, eventually everything should be in time. Alright? The same thing we do here. Clock path transform this way, and here inverse transform. Eventually the quantities that are going to the motor, it has to be a three-phase one. Next one is battery range. Okay, I'm stopping here. Thank you very much. Yeah, I also want to have lunch.
Thank you so much, Rahman sir, for such an engaging lecture. It's always great to hear from you. And I think the audience is also same, right? Last time Engineers Day we remember, and always your lectures inspires us and engages us a lot. Thank you, sir, for your presence. And now our next keynote speaker is there with us, Professor Dr. Manish Vashist, sir. He's from Department of Chemical Engineering, MNIT. I just give a brief introduction of sir. Manish sir is a distinguished professor in Department of Chemical Engineering, MNIT, Jaipur, with over 27 years of teaching and research experience. He holds a PhD and MTech in Chemical Engineering from IIT Delhi and BTech in Chemical Engineering from MNIT Jaipur and MBA in HR Management. His research spans biomass conversion, wastewater management, sustainable energy, and advanced modeling techniques. Dr. Vashist has authored over 60 international journal papers, 76 conference papers, and 4 book chapters. He has guided multiple PhD, MTech, and BTech scholars and completed several funded research projects. A fellow of Indian Chemical Society and life member of ISTE and ICIAS, he has also served as Dean Research and Consultancy and Dean Alumni and Industrial Outreach at IIIT Kota. Sir, we are honored to have you here with us. I just request Pro Vice Chancellor and Pro President sir to honor sir, and these are please accompany the Pro Vice Chancellor. For the guest of honor, sir, we welcome you here at ICIAS. Let's give a big round of applause, sir.
efficiently, how it works in various areas. So this smart fertilizers is something which we are working on. So, okay. So this is about how our Earth formed and what is going on on Earth. So basically, for the life to be sustainable on Earth, we have air, water, and food. And with the increasing population, the food requirement is increasing day by day. I will not be going exactly with this, but you just enjoy the pictures. And we are focused on India now. So Asia is one of the major population of the world is in Asia, and India and China are among the biggest contributors to this population. And to feed our growing population, we need food grains and other food items. So we have to have a lot of agricultural activities going on. And to support the agricultural activities, we use agricultural inputs, in which fertilizers is one of the most important input. Now, use of additional fertilizers has created a havoc in the soil. Soil fertility, instead of increasing, although it increases the soil fertility, but it creates a lot of environmental problem. Using normal chemical fertilizers increase the pollution of the soil because of the leaching of the harmful components which go inside the soil. For example, urea. So for urea was used like this, and it leads to an overuse of urea because of subsidies in India. You know, government is subsidizing on the fertilizer. What is the actual cost that is not paid by the farmers? They pay less cost for urea. And that's why, because of subsidy, when something is coming at less cost, you don't care about it, and they use it recklessly. Something like power in Haryana. In power in Haryana and Punjab, the farmers don't have to pay for the power. So this is because the water rate goes on. The agricultural fields are irrigated like anything, and due to which there is water logging in the fields. Soil is not able to absorb that much water. Similar case happened in the fertilizers. Another interesting story happened is that urea, which is one of the most utilized of used fertilizer in the fields, it's a nitrogenous fertilizer. We have three important components: N, P, K, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. But nitrogen is one of the most important components which is used for growth of the crops. And urea is the largest used nitrogenous fertilizer. So now nitrogen, this urea coming with a subsidy, there was a lot of black marketing also started going on. Like, because urea is a feedstock for many other chemicals. Many more chemicals are made from the urea. So it started black marketing. It started the truck. It starts from the factory, never reached the ground, and it was siphoned off to the industry because it was costing less. So in 2014-15, government came with the idea of making neem coated urea. Have you heard of this term, neem coated urea? Basically, it is not neem; it is neem oil coated urea. Because once you coat the urea with a layer of something else, it becomes unusable for other industries. So government started this neem coated urea business, and now 100% urea which is coming is neem coated. But again, the problem with neem coated is that it's a little bit costly. Although government is supporting it, they are giving subsidy, but neem oil roughly costs around 300 kg, rupees 300 per liter, like that. So some sustainable alternative has to be looked at. Another news item which you have heard or which you have seen in the newspaper, particularly if you are from the northern part like Punjab, Haryana, in the winters like this season, there is a stubble burning issue there. They burn those farm stubble, parali जिसको हिंदी में बोलते हैं, and pollution comes to the Delhi side, and in winters the situation becomes very pathetic. Something happened in Rajasthan also like that. So I am now zooming down to the things. So mustard, have you heard of mustard? It is sarso. So Rajasthan, India is the largest producer, and among India, Rajasthan is the largest producer of mustard crop. So when a farmer cuts the mustard, you take out the entire plant, and after getting the oil seed from the mustard, that plant is of no use because it cannot even be used for the fodder. उसको जानवर को भी नहीं दे सकते हैं because of the component called glucosinate concentration, which is problematic for the animals. They can't eat it, so that is a waste, and lots of that waste started started manufacturing the bricks or small briquettes out of those mustard waste or other biomass waste also, and send it to the power plants for co-firing with the coal so that it can be utilized. So this is what we are just talking about, that whatever I have put, this is summarized in this slide, that population is increasing, food demand is increasing, agriculture fertilizer use is increasing, so we are causing lots of environmental pollution. What is the innovative approach to do that? So so this is how we can use our biomass. Whatever waste is generated, biomass means bio plus mass. Any something which is have a biological origin, organic origin, carbon, nitrogen, like that, those things. So either you go for composting, that was being referred to by VC sir, that they are utilizing your mass and other food waste for creating the biogas. So after that biogas is generated, whatever is left is the organic manure. So it's a compost. You can use your biomass for feeding the animals also. Some of the biomass, like your wheat biomass, the thing which you get after harvesting the wheat crop, that can be used as animal feed. You can use it as a bioenergy production. You can convert it into some energy forms. And third is lastly, you can go for biochar production, where we started working on it. One PhD I already completed, one project we have completed on this, and many more things we are doing with this. So bioenergy, I told you that agro waste can be used to produce bioenergy, such as biogas, biofuel, but it has its own advantages and disadvantages. We will not touch on that because of the time constraint. Biochar. Now what is biochar? When you burn the bio waste or organic waste, or you can say agriculture waste, in a controlled low oxygen environment, because if the oxygen is sufficient, it will just burn. So we are not burning it. We want to make a char out of it. So we burn it in a reactor in a low oxygen supply, and we get a biochar, and it's like a black powder substance which we obtain. And livestock feed, I told you, the livestock feed can be from that plants can be fed for livestock, and composting also we convert it into manure. So now coming to the biochar. So you keep in mind that some biochar is formed. It's a black powdery substance which we can get. How we use it in the fertilizers? That now we start from there. So traditional fertilizers, we know they cause problems. So basically we make smart fertilizers or controlled fertilizers. Because what you see is, for example, crop like wheat. You sow the wheat in this season, October, November, and you ripe it in the February, March, around the week. So 4-5 month cycle, around 120 days cycle. Now plant need nutrients for its entire growth period. But when you apply a traditional fertilizer, when you put it, the farmer put it in the field and put water, that fertilizer immediately goes into the soil and provide the nutrient. But you have to apply it again and again to meet the plant's requirement. So that is not a good thing, because you have to reapply again and again, and a lot of fertilizer is consumed. So why not make a fertilizer in this form, that once applied in the field, it can release its nutrient in a gradual fashion to meet the crop requirement. You understand what I am saying? ऐसा किया जाए कि क्रॉप को जितना न्यूट्रिएंट चाहिए वो धीरे-धीरे सॉइल में प्रेजेंट हो टाइम के साथ, so that क्रॉप को जितनी रिक्वायरमेंट है उतना न्यूट्रिएंट मिल जाए, instead of putting applying again and again, because the more fertilizer you apply, the more pollution you are creating. So these are the problems with the traditional fertilizer. There is a volatilization, denitrification, then there is a surface runoff, leaching. These are chemical terms. I am not going to details of that, but you understand that normal fertilizers are not good. So we make smart fertilizers with some coating over them, so that they mimic or they match the crop requirement over a period of time. This is a small graph we have taken. I think the student missed the reference. It is not my graph, but it's in one of the published paper. So if you see the graph number 2, that is how a fertilizer should behave. This is how a crop needs a nutrient. But graph number 1 shows that the nutrient is initially becomes high, then it again decline. So you have to again put a nutrient in the field. So that is the dotted line with 3. So this is the multiple applications which you have to go for. And graph number 4 shows that we can make a fertilizer, or we should have a fertilizer which mimics or which is in synchronous with the crop requirement for the nutrient. So these are the these are just academic things. What is the definition and other things? Let's skip this. So this is the timeline how this smart fertilizer, controlled release fertilizer business started. Initially, urea was a very old fertilizer, some 1870s, 1880s. This is was synthesized. And in Indian context, if we say in 2004, government mandated that we go for neem coated fertilizer. But it was in 2015 we came up with the idea that entire fertilizer should be neem coated. So now entire fertilizer, urea which is coming out of any company, it is mandatory that they make your coated fertilizer, that is neem coated fertilizer. This is the way the biomass is converted. There are thermochemical conversion and biochemical conversion. We only touch upon thermochemical conversion, in which the first thing is that pyrolysis. So we will be using the pyrolysis process for converting the biomass into biochar, and that biochar we will be going for coating on urea. This was not done. The good thing about is that the biochar is a organic addition. Some people have used some other coatings like polymer coatings on the fertilizer, but again polymers are not good for the soil. So why not coat the fertilizer with a substance which itself is of the organic nature? So we can coat the fertilizer by making a biochar in the pyrolysis reactor, apply some, you can say some additive, which will help that biochar to stick on the fertilizer, and by 2-3 processes we can do it. So pyrolysis means pyro plus lysis means heat plus breakdown. So breaking down of complex biomolecules into simpler molecules to obtain the biochar. This is a layout. We are more interested in the first output, that is biochar. Some biomass is also obtained, some bio oil is also obtained. These the products which we get depends upon the nature of biomass which we are feeding. If we feed the sugarcane bagasse, the product will be different. If we feed the mustard, the cooked sugar product will be different. Although all products will be formed, but in the different ratios. So we use in our laboratory, we use a pyrolysis reactor for converting the mustard biomass, because we are stationed in Rajasthan. I got a project from East Rajasthan also, some from East India, government of India also on this purpose, because we are the largest mustard producing state. So we convert our mustard waste in the pyrolysis reactor to obtain that powdery substance called biochar. So again, it's more of a chemical engineering nature. Because we do it in limited oxygen supply, so we use some other gases also. So we tried nitrogen as well as carbon dioxide environment in our reactor, and we saw that using a carbon dioxide environment in the reactor produced better amount of biochar because of the carbon content which was there in the carbon dioxide also. Another important thing is that you are hearing about all these carbon footprints and carbon credits. So it is a good way of utilizing the carbon dioxide also in the reactor, in the biochar reactor. Although we purchase the carbon dioxide cylinders and connect it with the reactor, but you should appreciate that we are also utilizing the carbon dioxide in biochar production. So we are attacking two problems: carbon dioxide reduction as well as the waste mustard which was going like that only, which was not much utilized for converting that into biochar. These are some properties of biochar. Biochar has fine pores in it, because if you coat the urea with a thing which doesn't have pores, then how will the nutrient, basically nitrogen, will come out? So your coating should be porous. So when the water will go inside, it will dissolve the nitrogen, and slowly with those pores, the nitrogen will come back into the soil. So these are all the properties of biochar. I am shown here, but since most of you are not from chemical engineering or chemistry background, so I think only with your limited 11th class knowledge you can understand the terms. So this is how we make the biochar. This is our pyrolysis reactor. You can see that cylinder of carbon dioxide lying here, only a small portion. Now we have improved this reactor. ये पुराना है. Now we have got a new one also. So this MBC means mustard biomass coated urea. So uncoated urea with binders. Binders can be your starch. Starch is a good substance to bind something sticky. Potato starch, corn starch. Even we can use bentonite clay. A special type of clay is there, which we mix with the biochar and coat it inside the reactor. Now coating, we have two types of reactors for coating. One is simple pan coater, and something is called as fluidized bed coating, in which we put the urea, we put the biochar, and we put the air pressure, and due to the bubbling action, the coating becomes better. So this FP, the next one, the fluidized bed coater, is a better technology for coating the biochar mixed with starch, maybe some other additive also. We can try different additives. That all a student doing PhD, he tries different additives, different temperature conditions, and that's how we earn our bread and butter by publication and everything, and getting projects to run those laboratories. Because chemical engineering is a costly branch. That's why you wonder not many people start chemical engineering in private university. Because chemical engineering is a standalone branch. Your one computer can serve your electrical, computer, electronics, but chemical engineering, what this reactor will do for computers? Nothing. Okay, so most of the people shy away from needs a lot of investment in laboratories and then day-to-day running costs also. So this is how uncoated and mustard coated biochar coated urea looks like, and this is a sand image. Again, a very costly equipment, scanning electron microscope, worth at least 10 crore and more. We have one in our material research center. In which we characterize, we see how is the coating done. It should be a better uniform coating which we should obtain. This is again characterization part which we do. This is how it works. Water goes inside a CRF. CRF is controlled release fertilizer granule, and then after it diffuses out again with time. Diffusion is slow process. Okay, so if you light a agarbatti in this corner, it will reach in that corner. That is the diffusion process. Because of the concentration gradient, it goes from one place to another. So inside the urea there is more nitrogen content. Outside the soil it is not. So due to that concentration gradient, slowly that dissolved nitrogen will come out and meet your need of the plant in which you have applied. These are the phases, but not. Again, we did in lab we tried both in the water environment and in soil environment, but the results in soil environment are more appropriate because after all you have to apply the fertilizer into the soil. But for publication purpose or for getting the faster result, we tried it in the water environment. We just put it in a tea bag. That picture shows uncoated urea, then the mustard coated urea obtained from those two techniques. Coating technique can be different, and we compared the result and found that fluidized bed coaters are the best for getting a coated fertilizer. Then, so these are the release patterns which we obtained, and you can see that whether it is soil or water environment, the graph is same as what we wanted by that graph number 4. It was just a theoretical prediction, but these are the actual experimental works which we can see. So these are the patterns for the release patterns, and we compared our prepared fertilizer, this mustard prepared fertilizer, with other prevalent, other coated fertilizers like neem coated or other clay coated fertilizers, and found that they work quite well. In fact, they work almost similar as neem coated urea. So why to waste even 300 rupees per kg for buying the neem oil and coating on urea, rather than we can convert our waste mustard, convert it into biochar and make coated urea by them. So then we fitted the models, again more of academic nature, and we forgot that the sigmoidal function, sigmoidal plots were the best. So this is a brief overview of what we are trying to do towards sustainability using our little bit chemical knowledge which we have earned from my education from IIT and NIT, and we are doing it at Jaipur, and it's a new work here. Thank you.
So much, sir, for your meaningful insights and the way you have connected engineering innovation with the environmental responsibility. Now we have this keynote address speaker with us, and it's our honor to introduce Dr. Govind Kumar from IIM Jaipur. Dr. Govind Kumar is the IIM Jaipur Young Faculty Research Chair and Assistant Professor of Operation Management at the Indian Institute of Management, Jaipur. His research focuses on analytical modeling of strategic and dynamic decision making in platforms, supply chain, and public systems, employing tools from game theory and optimization. Dr. Kumar has published in leading international journals and actively engages in academic policy and industry-facing collaboration. He holds a PhD in Operation Management from IIM Ahmedabad and a master's degree from IIT Kanpur. Guys, please settle down now. We'll have a lunch at 1:30. Actually, lunch timing was earlier 1 o'clock, so they'll have a lunch break at 1:30. So I request Pro Vice Chancellor sir to please come forward and to honor our guest keynote speaker sir. Dean sir, please accompany Pro Vice sir. Guys, please give a big round of applause for Govind Kumar sir to be here with us today. A big round of applause.
Systems, which is a fairly computer science branch, and I come from business school and management background, right? So, but what I do today in this, we have 20 minutes around, so I talk about not the algorithms and all, right? But what I do is I talk about once you get the final product, but ultimately what you do, you have the final product using the algorithms, you design some kind of software, and ultimately you want to derive some economic value out of the product that you get. Right? So I try to look at how firms make these strategic decisions once they get the final product. Right? We have a lot of different kind of regulations. We have data privacy laws. We have different kind of regulations around. So how these regulations impact what choices the companies are making. So here in this talk, I'll give you initially some overview of how you can use the game theoretic models to address some of these strategic decisions. Alright? So let me start with a very simple example, right? So we talked about AI and all, right? And these are some of the the platforms that you see. These all are basically the final products that you see in the market. Right, and we can take the subscriptions. Companies can basically buy these kind of products and they can use for their own purpose, right? And so why I am showing this is because we are seeing that there are a lot of different kind of tools are coming in the market and they all are competing in the same market, right? And ultimately the companies want to gain some economic value, right? If you are investing in some AI tool, you want to make some profit. You want to serve the consumers, you want to serve the industry, and want to get finally some profit. And as we know that Professor Prithvi was mentioning about what is AI, we have some kind of data, fuel, engine, and finally you get the product. So here, what I will do is I will not talk about, as I said, the algorithms, the product design and all, but what I will focus is I will focus on the business models and what is their impact on the market. Okay, that would be my focus. And their companies have to make different kind of strategic decisions, right? So how they can use or how these game theoretical models can inform these strategic choices that the companies are making. Okay? So as we know that this AI field is already growing at very high pace. We already have like around 1800 AI companies were launched in 2023, so we know that the space is already very crowded, right? Now these companies follow various kind of business models. Some of these companies focus on the hardware part, some companies focus on the platform side, some companies focus on the software side. And we know that there are companies who are offering infrastructure as a service. And we know that this Amazon Web Services and Azure, these are kind of, the companies are offering hardware as a service or infrastructure as a service, right? So you get the infrastructure and you can basically use that infrastructure for your own purpose. We also have companies who are selling these platforms, platform as a service, right? We know that there are companies who are basically offering you ready to deploy. If you have some kind of algorithm, you can basically use their platform to deploy. And finally, whatever purpose you want to serve, you can serve using their platform. The third kind of services we are getting in this domain is software as a service, and this is we all know very much about the ChatGPT and Gemini, and there are a lot of different kind of tools are there. So they are basically software, and they are basically providing software as a service to the consumers. Now these companies, once you get the final product, right? They have to make different kind of decisions. What are the decisions they have to make? Think about what should be the payment model. Should it be the fixed payment where you can take the subscription and you can use it, or should they consider usage wise? We say the pay-G kind of model where pay as you go, right? You are using 1 hour, you pay this much, next 1 hour you pay this much. or you simply say, okay, for 1 year you can use this much. So for the companies, they have to make these kind of decisions. Should we offer these two different business models, two kind of models for customers, or should they only focus only on one model where they can go with the subscription? That's the one thing. Figuring out which kind of pricing model we are going to choose for our product, right? The second thing they need to decide is, once you say, okay, I'm going to go with a subscription based model, you need to figure out what is the price that you are going to charge. And this price is not that you simply sit in a room and you can decide. You have to consider a lot of different factors. You have to think about what your competitor is doing in the market, how the customer is going to perceive if you increase the price. Right? So there are different kind of players coming and they are basically fighting the same market. Therefore, we have to use some kind of tool which can guide us to figure out what are the optimal decisions. Similarly, we know that the companies need to decide if somebody is like AWS, they need to see, okay, if they are offering infrastructure as a service or the platform or the hardware as a service, they need to figure out what should be their capacity, right? What should be the service quality, right? What should be the speed, latency rate, and everything they have to figure out, right? Ultimately, they are serving their customers, and these kind of decisions will ultimately impact how much profit they are going to make in the market, right? So there we can use the tools that the game theory provides. Okay. For instance, few days back, the news is September 25, right, where it is about the OpenAI is thinking to introduce ads in the ChatGPT. Right now, if you want to use ChatGPT, there is a free version. You can basically take a subscription, right? But now what they are thinking is that we are going to introduce the ads, right? Now there are other platforms as well. This is only the one company, the OpenAI. Now Microsoft has, the X has their own this GenAI tool. Should they also follow the ChatGPT approach or the OpenAI approach? Should they also introduce ads? Or before even the OpenAI introduces these ads, they need to understand, should they adopt ad-based monetization model, right? What happens when you see ads? What is going to happen? Because right now you know that if you take the subscription, you have to pay even like very simple model, $4, $20, and $200. Now if they introduce ads, what is going to happen? Will these prices drop? Should they drop these prices? Or should they say, okay, I am going to drop from 20 to let's say 10, and then those who are taking this plus subscription will have to see some ads. Or I say, whoever is seeing ads will see only ads and they don't have to pay anything. Various models, right? Various strategies that you take, and each of these strategies will have some implications. Not everybody would like to see ads. There are too many ads are coming on the website or even on the platform, you don't like that website. Right? So how would the companies make such decisions? Now once say, okay, I'm going to introduce ads, but then you need to figure out what should be the optimal level of ad intensity. How many ads should I throw to the users? Right? And I already said about this question, right? Should you substitute or should you complement? So these kind of questions you can address, and these are still open questions. I don't know the answer. Okay, I saw the news few days back. I thought maybe I have to consider. Let me put that news into my presentation. I can give you some direction, right? So these are the areas where a lot of research is happening. Now, why game theoretic models? Now, the game theoretic models will come into picture when we have multiple stakeholders. Now, when we took the example of ChatGPT, we know that there are different kind of stakeholders. The stakeholders, the company itself, the competitor, the consumer, and we also have the government policies. So the game theoretic models can you can consider the strategic interdependence, multiple stakeholders you can consider, and finally the multiple players are competing, because right now we know that there are too many players in the market. If you want to see how this AI ecosystem will look like maybe 10 years down the line, it means we know that there will be only few players who are able to survive. It means you are trying to talk about this part, the equilibrium perspective. What will happen eventually when they compete? They will say, okay, I'm increasing the price, I'm introducing ads, maybe my competitor will also follow the same thing. Eventually, some of them will survive and they are competing, they will basically calibrate things, and finally we will see some equilibrium in the market. Right? Same way, if tomorrow the government said, okay, we need to bring some kind of policy, and when the government is bringing some kind of policy, they have to consider various aspects. It's not just only the consumers, but they also think about the industry. What's going to happen to industry? They have to consider different kind of aspects. So the platforms, industry itself, the consumers, and together they want to ensure that everybody is getting the maximum value. That's their objective. So they want to study what is, if we change the regulation like this, we say, okay, nobody can introduce the eggs. Is it good strategy or not? Right? So these kind of things you can basically address using the game theory models. Alright, so that's basically the background where you can apply the game theory models. Now I am going to focus on one specific project that is still ongoing, where we are using some kind of game theoretic approach to understand, what happens when consumers or the users use ad blockers. There are many, I don't know whether the young generation, but I still use ad blocker. And what is the purpose of ad blocker on the browser? It blocks the ads, right? And we know that sometimes ads are very annoying, right? So we want to block them, right? But then what happens to the platform? The company who is basically running the website, providing you the free content, what happens to that company or that website? Because if you are saying, okay, I am a news platform, right? I am providing you free news, I should get revenues from somewhere, right? And if you use the ad blocker, you are not seeing the ads. Now what will happen to that company?
The ad revenue will be affected.
Ad revenue will be affected, and they will basically not able to survive, right? So for them, ad revenue is basically the most important thing. But then, the consumers, users are using ad blockers. And there are too many companies in this domain who are providing the free ad blockers. The software, that adding that you can put into your browser and you can block the ads. Right? So now, as a platform or as a website, what should I do? Because if the users are using the ad blockers, I will not be able to put the ads on my website. And the advertisers will not give me the ads. It is hitting my business. Right? So now, what should I do? Which kind of strategy should I follow? So the platforms, when I say platforms, it means I am talking about the websites who are basically providing the content. There are different kind of approaches. Okay? So I am giving just one example. If you open the business standard without ad blocker enabled, what will happen? You will see there is a one kind of ad is coming. As soon as you basically put ad blocker, the ad disappears. This is what I was hinting. Now if this ad is not coming here, then the website will not be able to generate revenue, right? And we know there are a lot of different kind of ad blockers available. Now I'll skip this part because we know that if you are using around at least 20% users, they use some kind of ad blocker, that the statistics say. And we have some kind of statistics which say that it is costing 54 billion USD in 2024 because of users are using ad blocker. The cost is huge for the websites, for the platforms. Now people also say that these are basically extortion rackets, right? Because they have no role to play, but still they are saying that I'm providing the free software, users will use and you will not able to generate the revenue. now what websites are doing, there are three different strategies the websites are following or the platforms are following. How much time do I have? It will take 5 minutes. Okay. So what is happening? Some websites say, okay, block the ad blocker. It means what? Those who are using ad blocker, they will not able to enter to the website. Last year we saw that the YouTube started doing that. I was using the ad blocker. What happened? Suddenly say, okay, you will not able to see the videos if you are using the ad blocker. That's the one approach. But then there are some ways you can basically bypass. Right? There are some browsers which will basically help you to bypass that. Right? Then there are some like websites like Business Standard. They say if you are using that blocker, we don't care. It's fine for us. Let them use. Okay. The third approach is saying that the ad blocker company is saying, okay, if you want us to basically bypass these ads, you have to pay something. So it means now the extortion part comes into picture. Now the ad blocker company has no role to play, and they are saying, okay, you pay us, then only I allow you to do the business. Right? So they will basically charge some fee, and then basically they will whitelist your website. Now the ads will come, but then they put some kind of restriction that your ad should not go beyond some limit, the ad intensity. Therefore, you see that some ads should be written, ad should not come here in the center part, but there is some space available to put the ads. That's basically a third approach. Now you know that what kind of question I am trying to address in this research. Now I am trying to address what is the optimal strategy for a platform. Which approach should I follow? Should I follow this one, or that one? Right? And then you also want to see does blocking the ad blockers always benefit the platform? Should I follow this approach? Will that benefit me? Because those who are basically using ad blockers, I will not allow them to access my content. Or when platforms uses this approach, will consumers hurt? It means if you are not able to provide access to content to the consumers will not be able to get the knowledge of whatever value they are able to get from the content. That's basically the kind of research questions we are trying to address in this. So now I have to quickly skip a lot of things. I thought I'll get 30 minutes so I'll be able to cover this. But then we use some kind of game theoretic approach to address these research questions. We look at the profit functions of these platforms and see what should be their optimal ad intensity, and then try to see what is their final profit. So this is what they get, the final profit in different strategies, what is the optimal ad intensity in these three different approaches, and finally also look at the consumer welfare part as well. And this is what we get. So we see that this is regarding the optimal ad intensity. We see in these three different categories, combat, passive, and accept, how the ad intensity is behaving, where you will see the most number of ads. And this is more important for the platforms. We say that blocking the ad blockers is not always good for the platform. Now the YouTube actually did that, right? So now our research is saying that in some scenarios, using this kind of approach is not good for the platform. Alright? And we also look at the consumer surplus. We say that the blocking ad blocker may not always hurt the consumers. So in some cases, it actually benefits the consumers. And this is basically where we consider the two different platforms competing in the same market, and this paper is already out. Okay, so we could publish in IEEE Transition on Engineering Management. So finally, what do we see here? So game theory is basically, I didn't say anything about the game theory model, how to build, because there is a lot of math involved. But this is the one area which is emerging, and because of the the AI tools, a lot of different kind of digital platforms are coming, different kind of business models they are following. So there is a lot of scope of research in this domain. People can use different kind of game theory models, and then they can basically get some interesting insights which are useful for the company itself and also for the policymakers. And this is interesting part. You see that the number of the academic publications happening in the AI field.
See, number of publications already crossing like 250K, right? So it's a huge number of publications we are seeing in the AI domain. And with that, I stop. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your meaningful insights, and this is how beautifully you have covered the technology with the mountain. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for your presence. Now I request Professor Prasanna Chakravarti, sir, to give the closing remarks of the session. Please.
So thank you so much all the keynote speakers. So as I rightly pointed out that computational techniques, that is basically a tool that can be applied in any domain. And as you have seen that all the professors, they belong to non-CS. One is electrical, chemical and business management. That's why I'm telling that is the essence of interdisciplinary research. In the first speech, Professor Raghavan K from IIT Gandhinagar, he has nicely pointed out that how computational intelligence that can be applied in industrial lives, and he touched upon basically two facts. One is basically improving the dynamics of electrical drives, and another one is improving the range of EV. The next keynote speaker, Professor Manish Vashishta, Chemical Engineering Department, MNIT Jaipur. His research pertains to computational intelligence in smart fertilizer systems. And sir has rightly pointed out that how your data analytics AI that can be applied in biomass, bioenergy production, biogel production, fertilizers, and basically the mathematical and stochastic modeling of your release pattern that he has pointed out along with the bioanalysis. So thank you, sir, for giving us a very enlightening speech on applications of your computational intelligence and data analytics in this education department. And the final one, Dr. Govind Kumar from IIM Udaipur, he has rightly pointed out on how the strategic intelligence, that means a game theoretic approach, Sam has pointed out regarding the decision-making models, the business models, and also how the game theory that can be applied. Along with that, how the ad blockers and what are the various strategies and the mathematical derivations that due to constraint of time has not pointed out. I urge upon the participants that who are actually basically interested in this particular field, please do contact sir. We will provide you his details, and otherwise you will get from his website. He is one of the young faculty researchers, that means he is the young faculty researcher chair in IIM Udaipur, and lots of experience. Yes, so I really once again thank all the three keynote speakers for coming here, and thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. Now I request Sir Dean, sir, and Vice sir to come forward and give the token of appreciation to the keynote speakers, sir. First, I call Raghavan sir to please come forward and receive your token of appreciation, sir. Great round of applause, guys, for a great session by Raghavan sir. Thank you, sir. Now I request Manish Vashishta sir to come forward and receive the token of appreciation. Thanks a lot, sir.